OSPF, that means open shortest path first. So this is a protocol, and this is a protocol we use to configure dynamic routing in our routers, in our router, in our network. So this OSPF is an advanced protocol, and it is to solve the problems of the big problem of the large scale network, where the RIP is not able to support. RIP version 1, RIP version 2 was introduced first, and those versions does not support the large network, and it is not able to support the large network. That is why we have the IGRP. Now IGRP is actually proprietary protocol. It was a proprietary protocol, and that is designed and configured by designed by the Cisco, and they want only that it works only. They want that the protocol can only work on their own devices. So that IGRP can support the large network, but it is not configurable for other routers or other networks. It is only for Cisco devices and Cisco network. So we cannot configure, we cannot use this IGRP on different routers. It is a proprietary protocol, and that is why we have this. And a RIP was open source, anyone can use RIP, but IGRP was actually proprietary, and that is why we have this OSPF, which is the standard protocol. And standard protocol, that means we can use this protocol anywhere, in any device, whether it is Cisco or any other company's device. This OSPF uses it removes the Bellman-Ford vector based algorithm. That means it does not use the hop counts, the distance vector, as a matrix. It uses the link state as a matrix. It is a link state protocol. It is not a distance vector protocol. It is a link state protocol. That means it uses the state of the link to find out the best path. Then it also supports the VLSM. That means it is the classless operating system. Then it also supports the route summarization. Route summarization is needed when you have a big network or big large scale network. Then it interface information. It is actually the state of the link is description of that interface. The state of the link, that means it is a link state protocol. That means it checks the link's status of the link. That means the status of the link, that means it is the interface and the relationship with the interface and the routers. Like what is the IP address you have in the interface, what is the subnet mask, what is the network type connected to the router, and all that. And all of these are collection of the link state. Now the algorithm which is used by OSPF is what? The link state routing. It is a link state routing protocol. It uses the Dijkstra algorithm to do the routing. And these are the features. If you summarize the features of OSPF, so these are the features of OSPF. OSPF supports the following feature, like industry standard protocol. It is the industry standard protocol which we can configure any device on any device. Then supports only for internet protocol, and it is actually, we can say it is a drawback, because it only supports the IP protocol. It does not support the other routed protocols like IP, IPX, AppleTalk, and other protocols. Autonomous system is divided into multiple areas for easy and efficient routing. Now in OSPF we have multiple areas. We can do the routing for multiple areas. Because OSPF supports a big network, so it divides those networks for easy manageability. It divides those networks to areas. We will talk about that also. Now first, conversions, fast conversions using the link state routing method. Now by using the link state routing method, it can do the fast convergence. Now what is the convergence? Convergence means what? Convergence means like if some network is down, then to bring back that network, how much time it will take. Like for example, if you have two paths to go to some network, again I will show you, like this is my network here. and we have this. So here we have one network, and here we have one network here. Now we can go from this side, so we can say this is our one path, and also we can go from this side. That means from this network to this network we have two paths. So OSPF will decide based on the link state that which link it has to go. It has to go from this path or this path. So it will decide based on the link state, and it will decide based on the matrix. So what is the matrix of the OSPF? The matrix is cost. So it actually uses the cost as a matrix. Now what is the convergence? Now convergence means what? Suppose it has taken this path. It has taken this path to reach this destination network. Now it is working properly. Now suppose this path is down here. Now when this path is down, so this network will not be available here for this router or this network. So it is gone. Now it is gone, but there is another path also there. So it will take this path. Now after this network goes down, so the time it takes to choose the other path, this is the time it is called convergence time. That means if one path goes down, then the time it takes to choose the other path, it is called the convergence time. And this is a fast conversion using the link state routing method. So because it uses the link state routing method, it is using this algorithm. It do what? It can find the other path very quickly than the other protocol, which is we have RIP or IGRP. So it can find a other path very quickly, and that is what the convergence time. Convergence time is actually the time takes after losing one path to select the other path, and that is called the convergence time. So it is having a fast conversion time. Then it uses the bandwidth, that is a cost as a matrix. That means it uses the cost as a matrix to choose the best path. Choose the best path, it will use the matrix as a cost. Now cost means what? Cost will be calculated out of this bandwidth. So if you get more bandwidth, you will get less cost, and if you get less cost, that means you will get that path fast. So if suppose this for example this path is showing cost 10 and this path is showing cost 20, so it will choose the less cost path, that is what? This one. So it will go from this side, it will not go from this side. In other hand, if you see the RIP or IGRP, they use what? They use the hop count as a matrix, the distance as a matrix, distance and direction. RIP version 1, RIP version 2, they use the distance as a matrix. IGRP has a different way, it has different matrix, 4 different matrix, multiple matrix. It chooses based on that, and OSPF chooses the matrix based on the cost of the link. Cost of the link will be decided by the bandwidth of the link. Then it is used in a large enterprise environment, network environment. It is actually designed to work on large environment where we have hundreds of routers and hundreds of networks we have. In other hand, if you go for RIP, it is not able to work with the big network because it has a limits of hop counts. Now we talk about matrix. What is matrix? So in OSPF matrix is called cost. So for OSPF the matrix is cost, and the cost is calculated cost of interface inversely proportional to the bandwidth of that interface. So actually the cost will be taken out of the bandwidth. A higher bandwidth indicates a lower cost. So as fast as you get the bandwidth, you will get what? Low cost. And this is the formula. This is the formula for the cost. The cost will be taken out by dividing this fixed value to the bandwidth. Whatever the bandwidth in Mbps you have, in bit per second you have. Now whatever the bandwidth you have to convert it into bits per second, not MB, not GB. You have to convert it into bits per second. Now bit per second, and then you will divide it by using this fixed value. Now for example, we can say cost. If suppose the cost of 10 Mbps Ethernet link, if you have a 10 Mbps link, so the cost will be what? So it will be divided, convert this cost into bit per second. This is 10 Mbps in bits, and when we divide this by using this fixed value, the cost will be this. And cost of T1 link. T1 link is ISDN link, and it do what? It is this is the bandwidth of that link, maximum up to. So when we divide this into, so we will get 64. So this is how it calculates the cost, and it calculates the cost and it calculates inversely proportional to the bandwidth. That means if the bandwidth is fast, your cost is less. So as you see, it is 10 Mbps, so it is getting what? Cost 10, and it is T1 link is slower than 10 Mbps, so it is getting what? 64. So if in this case, if you have multiple paths, so it will calculate the bandwidth, it will calculate the bandwidth, it will calculate the cost, and the cost, that means combined cost to reach the destination. Let's say for example, all of these routers are configured with OSPF. It has here 1 Mbps link, 1 Mbps link, and 1 Mbps link all, and here they have suppose 256 kbps link here. Then here it is having 512 Mbps kbps link. Now what they will do, first this router will calculate the matrix for this network by calculating the cost of this link, and let's say it got the cost 20 here. Then this router will do what? It will send that cost to this router. It says, for me, this network I can reach with the cost 20. Then this router will do what? It will add the cost. In 20, it will add the cost of this link also. Suppose it has calculated the cost for this link is 30. So for this router to reach this router is 30, and for this router to reach this network is 20. So the total cost for the link will be 50 for this router. So if this router wants to reach to this network, the total cost will be 50. So it will calculate the cost for this side, and it will also calculate the cost for this side, and it will see that which cost is less. Then it will take that path. It will take that path into the routing table, and then all the data will go from that path. So this is what matrix. Then adjacency state machine. Now adjacency state machine. Now what is this? In each OSPF routers within a network communicates with the other neighboring routers on each connecting interface to establish the status of all adjacency. And every such communication sequence is a separate conversation identified by the pair of routers IDs of the communicating neighbors. So it actually do what? Adjacency with the neighboring router, and it knows about the neighboring router. So when we configure the OSPF in two routers, so they do what? They exchange the information to each other and do the adjacency. So these two routers are connected together directly, so they will consider these two routers as a neighbor router. So they will create the neighbor relationship between these two routers, and that is what it is called adjacency. In RFC 2328, this is the request for comment specified by the networking, and it specifies the protocol for initiating these conversions, and that is hello. So OSPF actually uses the hello protocol. It uses the hello protocol, and for establishing the full agency, that is the database description packets and link state request packets and protocol messages, unlike other routing protocols. So it uses the hello packets to inform the information, send the information to each other. They use the hello protocol, and through the hello protocol they use to exchange the hello packets. And it is used for establishing and full adjacency, that is the database description packet, that link state packet and protocol messages, unlike other routing protocols. And these routers identify the neighbor by their router ID. They identify each other, that means these neighbors identify each other by using their router ID. Now what is router ID? So router ID is the IP address of the least IP address of the router's interfaces. Out of that it will choose the maximum IP address of that router. Let's say for example in our design, if you see, so in this design if you see this Andheri router, so on this Andheri router we have these two interfaces, serial 0/0 and fast Ethernet 0/0, and on these two interfaces these routers have these IP addresses. Now on fast Ethernet it has 10.0.0.1, on serial it is having 20.0.0.1. Now when you compare with these both interfaces, so the maximum, the large IP, the big IP is what? This 20. 10 is less than 20. So this 20.0.0.1 will be the router ID for this Andheri router. And for Thane, the Thane will choose the router ID as this IP 172.16.0.0. So the router ID of the router in OSPF will be the IP address of that interface of the router. So all the interfaces of the router, whatever the IP address they have, in those IP addresses the maximum number of IP, the maximum IP address, the big IP address will become the router ID. So in this Thane we have these three interfaces, and in these three interfaces we have 20, 30 and 172. So 172 will be the router ID for Thane. In Pune we have 30 and 192. So the 192 will become the router ID for Thane. 192.168, 192.168.1.1. This will be the router ID for Pune. Thane 172.16.0.1, and for Andheri it will be 20.0.0.1. So this is what choosing the router ID. This is how it chooses the router ID for the router, and when they exchange the information, so this Andheri's router says I am Andheri, my router ID is this. This Thane says this is my router ID. My router ID is 172.16.0.1. So they know each other by using their router ID, and they create the neighborship, and they create a table inside the router. The table is for the neighbor table, and in that neighbor table they push the information about the neighbors. Then OSPF does not carry data via transport protocol such as the user datagram protocol UDP or the transmission control protocol TCP. So for transmitting the data from one router to other router, they don't use UDP or TCP. In OSPF in RIP it was using the UDP, but now this OSPF does not use TCP or UDP. So OSPF forms IP datagram directly and packaging them using the protocol number 89 for the IP protocol field. So it actually directly send the data. It directly forms the datagram directly without using TCP or UDP for transmitting the data from one router to other router, and it packages the data by using the protocol number, that means the port number 89. Now types of communication. What are the types of communication we have in OSPF? So first we have the hello. Hello comes with the hello protocol. So this hello package, that means each router sends the hello informations. Now hello messages are used as a form of greeting. It is like a greeting to allow a router to discover other adjacent router on its links and network. So as we connect those routers, as we configure the OSPF, they start sending the hello to each other. And with hello, these hello packets, these hellos help them to create the neighborship, to do the adjacent routers. Then messages establish relationship between neighboring devices called the adjacency and communicate key parameters about how OSPF is to be used in the autonomous system or area. So with the hello packet, they send the other parameters also in the hello packet so that it can define the protocol and how the protocol is going to work. Like for example, it sends the router ID, area number, then it sends the subnet information, it sends the hello interval also. It is very important. It is very important to have a same hello interval on all the routers, on the both routers. Like if you have the two routers directly connected to each other, so their hello interval must be same. Like if this router is sending the hello packets on after every 10 seconds, so this router must be also sending the hello packets after every 10 seconds. If they have mismatch, then they will not create the neighbor relationship. They will not configure the neighborship between them. So it has an information related to these key parameters about the OSPF, that how the OSPF is going to be used in the autonomous system or area. Then it has another kind of messages. It is called database descriptions. In this database description, messages contains the description of the topology of the autonomous system or area. So after establishing the neighborship, they start sending these messages, database descriptions, and it is having the information about the topology. Topology, that means which network is connected and which network is not connected. Like we have seen here in this design, like this router says that I have connected this network and this network also have connected with this cost. So it is the topology. It is a topology, and this topology it will send to this neighbor router that I am having this connected network and these are the cost of those networks and all that. And these informations goes by the database description messages. Then they convey, these database messages convey the contents of the link state database LSDB for the area from one router to another. Communicating a large LSDB may require several messages to be sent by having the sending device designated as a master device and sending messages in sequence with the slave recipient of the LSDB information responding with the acknowledgement. So in this OSPF, actually they do what? After creating the neighborship, they do the election and select the designated router. And designated router do what? It do the communication for these database messages. Because in the large environment, what is required is the several messages to be sent by having the sending device designated as a master device. That is the designated router, and the sending messages in sequence, and with the slave, that is the non-designated router, that is either they are the recipient of these LSDB information responding with the acknowledgement. That means they will say that yes, we got the message. Then we have link state request. Now link state request messages are used by one router to request the updated information about a portion of the LSDB from another router. So when the router gets the information, they do what? They try to verify the information by using these LSDB from the LSDB database messages. They try to confirm it by the neighboring router using the link state request. And this message specify exactly which link about which the requesting device wants more current information. So they can want the current information from the neighboring router. Then link state update. After the request, the update comes. These messages contains the updated information about the state of the certain links on the LSDB, and they are sent in response to a link state request messages and also broadcast or multicast by routers on a regular basis. And their content are used to update the information in the LSDBs of routers that receive them. Then link state acknowledgement. So they not only send the request and update, they also acknowledge it. These messages provide reliability to the link state exchange process by explicitly acknowledging receipt of a link state update message. So when one router sends the request, the other router sends the update, and then this router sends the acknowledgement that I received the update. That means they make sure that the request comes and goes, the update received properly. Otherwise, if it is not send the acknowledgement, the updated router will send the update again, and it will make sure that the router gets the update. Now, types of area, and what is area first? Is this OSPF is actually divided into multiple areas. We can configure multiple areas in OSPF. But what is this area and why we need this area? These are the types of area, but first we should know that why this area is and why we need this area. Okay, what is OSPF area? Now first, autonomous system number. Autonomous system is what? It is a routing domain. Routing domain, that means it is controlled and managed by a single entity. So if a single company has a network, so they get the system autonomous. It is called their routing domain. So it is like their own routing domain. This is the routing domain for that organization. And this routing domain, that means within this routing domain they can configure multiple networks and routers and all that. And this is also called the autonomous system. This routing domain is also called the autonomous system, and it is given a unique autonomous system number. Autonomous system number, so that it will remain in the same domain. Like if you configure one router here, so you will say that this is in this autonomous system number. So when you configure another router, so this you will say that these are in the same autonomous system number. Same as other companies, they have their own autonomous system. They have their own autonomous system number with their own autonomous system number. They are having their own autonomous system number, and these numbers are given by the ISP. So they give the unique autonomous system number to each organization. So they can create their own network, they can create their own routing domain. Now when we talk about OSPF, so OSPF is actually IGP protocol. IGP protocol means what? Interior Gateway Protocol. Interior Gateway Protocol, that means the protocols which works within the autonomous system number. Within the autonomous system number, within the single autonomous number. So if this router, in this autonomous system, we can configure OSPF on these routers. We can configure RIP on these routers. We can configure IGRP on these routers. These are all IGP protocols. They works within the autonomous system number. Either here in this autonomous of this organization or this autonomous number of the other organization. But they works within the autonomous. They don't work outside of the autonomous number. They call IGP protocols. The protocol which work outside of the autonomous system, it is called EGP protocol, Exterior Gateway Protocols. EGP protocols. These protocol works outside of the autonomous system, and this protocol is BGP. There is only one protocol we have, and that is BGP, Border Gateway Protocol, and this protocol works outside of the autonomous system. Now why it works outside of the autonomous system? Because it is used to connect two different autonomous systems. These two different autonomous system does not connect by default. You have to configure the BGP protocol to do the communication between one autonomous system to other autonomous system. Now this is what the autonomous system, but area is different. Area works within the autonomous system number, within the single autonomous. Now in OSPF, when we configure the OSPF, we don't mention any autonomous system number. We don't mention this, but still OSPF is IGP, so it remains within the autonomous. But when we want to configure it to connect the other autonomous number, then we need the BGP, and in that BGP protocol we mention the autonomous number for the OSPF also. But when we configure OSPF here in within the single autonomous number, we don't configure the number of the autonomous. We don't configure the number for the autonomous system. Now the area is actually within the autonomous number. Now why we configure the OSPF area? and it works within the autonomous number. But why we configure it? Now why we configure it? So first thing I will say you that why we configure it. So basically we configure it for root summarization. Remember, if you don't do the root summarization, there is no need to configure the area. There is no need to configure the area, because you know the areas, if you want to connect the different areas, you don't have to do extra configurations. You don't have to do the extra configuration. These areas can be easily connected. It is not an autonomous system. Autonomous system, if you want to connect to autonomous system, then you have to configure the exterior gateway protocol, BGP. Otherwise you cannot do that. But because the area is within the autonomous system, you don't need to have a configuration, the extra configuration to connect this, to configure this, or to connect the different areas. But why we configure the areas? If you don't configure the areas properly, if you don't do the root summarization, then you don't need to configure the areas. Now these areas, if you want to configure the areas and you want to do the root summarization, then you have to design the network properly. This OSPF is actually need we first design. That means you have to properly design your network. Otherwise, if you want to configure the OSPF, then you have to design the network properly. Otherwise it will be a mess and you will not be easily manage this, and it will make you a big problem if you have not properly designed it. So first I will explain you what is this what is root summarization. First let me tell you what is root summarization, then you will understand what is the area and why we configuring these areas. So first, what is the root summarization? Remember, OSPF supports the root summarization, which the previous protocols was not supporting, like RIP or IGRP. This OSPF supports the root summarization. Now what is this root summarization and how we can do this? It is also called supernetting sometime. It is also called supernetting. Normally we do the subnetting, so we can do the root summarization also, and it sometimes calls the supernetting also. Now first, by default auto summary is enabled on all these protocols. Auto summary do what? It summarizes the network automatically. Now why and what is this summarization? Let's say for example we have this router here, and this router is connected to multiple networks. So when it sends the information, there is another router here, and it is also connected to multiple different networks. Now when this router sends the information about its network or topology to the other router, so what it will do, it will send the information that it has all these networks connected, and when this router sends the information to this router about its network, so it will send that I have all these networks connected. Now by default what these routers do, they actually try to do the summarization, that is auto summarization. Auto summarization to summarize and small the routing table, try to reduce the routing table. Like for example, if you don't do the summarization, then this router will send 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 routing in a routing table. It will send the 5 network information to this router, and this router will also send the 5 network information to this router. 5 I am giving only example, but sometime this routing table can be a very big routing table. Like this router is connected to other router and other router and other router, or might be the routing table is big. Routing table might have entries of different routers, like different networks, like 50, 60, 100. So routing table can be big, and if the router is sending the information, so the routing table can be big. It will take time to go, and it will not easy to manage also. So when you run the IP root command, you will see multiple lines there of each network. You will see network this, network that, network this, network that, and it will be it will not be easy to manage. So what these routers do, they try to do the summarization and try to do what? Try to summarize the network to a single route. Now for example, if suppose we have done the subnetting here, we have done the subnetting here, we have done the subnetting of we have here in this router we have network 10 this side. Network 10. But what we did the subnetting here on this side, and what we did, we changed the subnet mask to 255.255. By default it is 255.0.0, but we did a little subnetting here, and we did what? We converted the subnet mask to this. Now because of this subnet mask, this is also a network. So I have configured here first network like 10.0. Now remember, this is also a network because of this subnet mask, and then we configure the other network here 10.1. then we configure the other network here 10.2, then 10.3. Now what that means, these are 4 different subnets. Now when this router wants to send the information to this other router, so it will try to do the auto summary. Auto summary, that means it will try to summarize this address to single. So what it will do here, it will send the information in this side. So it will send only what? It will send that I have this network 10.0.0.0. This is what auto summary, and it can do this because it is a subnetting we have configured, and by default it is a single network 10. So it summarizes this and send it on this side that I am having only this network. This is what auto summary do. It works here, but sometimes the auto summary will not work. But mostly when the auto summary is enabled, then it works like this, and it will do what? It will summarize the address and send. Now it is different than protocol also. If suppose you have configured RIP here, if you have configured RIP here, and if you configure RIP version 1, then whether you have auto summary or not, it will only send this. It will only send this. That means it will send only that it has network, the whole network 10 is here. That means what? The whole network 10 is here. It will not do what? It will not do the summary, because RIP version 1 does not support anything. It does not do auto summary, it does not do anything. And when it sends the information about the network, it sends only the network address. It does not send the subnet mask. Remember, it does not send the subnet mask, and that is why RIP version 1 we call it is a class full routing protocol. It does not inform about this subnetting. So when it sends the information to this router, it does not send the information that I am having 4 subnets of network 10. Only 4 subnets. I don't have the whole network 10. I have only 4 subnets. What it will say? It will say I have the whole network 10. But when we use RIP version 1, that is the advanced one, so it do what? It do supports the classless routing. It do supports the subnetting. RIP version 2, not RIP version 1, RIP version 2 and IGRP. So they are classless, and they support this type of subnetting. And when they do what? They do by default auto summary. Remember, they do by default auto summary. And they do by sending the subnet mask also. These routers do what? They send the subnet mask also, that I have this network and with this subnet mask. So the other router knows that okay, they have these networks. And if in RIP version 1, it does not send about the subnetting, it sends only that I am having this network. Now this can be a problem if they don't support the classless routing, then it will create the problem. For example, we use the 4 subnets of 10 here, and if I use the other 4 subnets of 10 here, like 10.4 here, then 10.5 here, and 10.6 here, and 10.7. Now what happened if we use RIP version 1? This router says I am having network 10 because it is not supporting the VLSM, this subnetting classless. Then this router also says I am also having network 10, so they will say okay, I will also have, you will also have, then no need to go that side, and from here no need to go that side. So it will not send. If someone send the pack data from this network to this network, it will not reach, because the router says this network is on my side, it does not have on the other side. The whole network 10 is on my side. This router will say the whole network 10 is on my side, so they will not exchange any packet. And that is why we have RIP version 1. In RIP version 1, they send by default auto summary, because by default they do auto summary. That means they send only that I have the whole network 10. It works like RIP version 1. It says I have whole network 10. This one says I have whole network 10. By default they do auto summary. But if you configure the subnetting, if you configure 4 subnets here and 4 subnets here, then you have to disable the auto summary. You have to disable the auto summary, and you can do that on RIP version 2, not on 1. You can do that on RIP version 2, and also you can do it on IGRP, that you can disable the auto summary. And when you disable the auto summary, then it do what? It will send the information that I have only 4 networks of 10. So when it sends the information to other router, it says I have only network 4 subnets of network 10, and this router says okay, the other 4 networks of or other 4 subnets of 10 I have. So when this from this network and someone send the data to this network, it will reach this side, because they know each other. Now this is what summary or auto summary. But in OSPF we need to do a manual summarization. Auto summarization will not work when you don't have a subnetting. Like for example, we have a network here in this side on the router. We have network 192.168.0.0, and now these are the networks. Now this is not subnetting, these are different networks. This is the different class C networks. We know in class C we have these first 3 parts as a network. So this one is a network here, and it's not a subnetting, it is a separate networks, network 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now if suppose we have a router here, and this router is connected to all of these networks and wanted to send this information to other routers on the other side, then what? It has to send all these networks separately. And it is just an 8 networks here, but it can be a big networks, it can have multiple networks. So what it have to do, it have to send it it have to send the whole, like when this router send the routing table, so in the routing table of this router it will send all these networks information, and it is only 8 here, but it can be 100. So it will become a big routing table to send to this side. So it will be a big routing table which is sending to this side. So if we want to do what? If you want to reduce the routing table, that is called route summarization. In this kind of design, what? When you have a subnetting, so automatically it can do subnet, it can do summarize, because it is a single network which we have subnetted. But here we cannot do the auto summarize, because these are the separate networks. Now in this case we have to do the manual summarization. So we can do the manual summarization also, and we can do what? We can summarize all these address into a single address, and that is also called sometimes supernetting. Not subnetting, supernetting. So what we can do here, and how we can do the summarization manually when we have a different networks. So if you have a different networks, then what you will do, you have to count in bits, you have to convert them into bits, and you have to see that how many common bits we have in all these networks. So in all these networks, how many common bits we have from this left to right, from the left to right, how many common bits we have. Now if you see, all of these networks have 192. So this 192 is common for every network. So I will say 192. I'm not writing in bits. So I can say that all of these network has the same 192 common. These are all common bits. Then I can see in all these networks this 168 is also common. That means all the bits here must be common. So I can say this 168 is also common. Common in all these networks. So I can say these bits are also common. I'm not writing all those bits. So we can say that these bits are also common. Now here in this third part we can see there are changes here. Now I will write these third part in bits, and we'll see that till where we have the changes. So first we have 0. That means all these bits are 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Dot. Now in this part they are all 0, so I don't have to write them. They are all 0. Now in the second address, what we have here, we have 1. Now 1 means what? The first bit is on and all the rest of the bits are off. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and only this bit is on and all the other bits are off, and this bit value is 1. And then again here we have all zeros. Now in this, what we have here in this, so here we have 2. Now 2 means the second bit is on. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now this bit is on and this bit is off. Dot, and then again these are all zeros. So this bit value is what? 2, and we are getting here 2. Now this, in this network, so what we have in this network, so we have 3. 3 means these 2 bits are on, 1 and 2 plus 3. So first 2 bits are on and all the other bits are off. So we can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This 7 is on, 7th one, and this first one is on. That means, and here we have all zeros. So these 2 bits on, that means 1 plus 2, we have 3 here. Now 4 means what? In this network we have 4. So 4 means what? The third bit is on. This third bit value is 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this bit is on and these 2 bits are off. And all the other bits are here 0. So this bit value is 1, 2, 4. So this 4 bit, the bit is on, which is value having 4. So that is why we are getting here 4. Now this 5 in binary, when we convert it into binary, so this 5 means what? This 5 means what? This 4 and this 1 plus 5. So the first bit is on and then this third bit is on. So what we will get? 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This bit is on and then 0, and this bit is also on. Then all the other bits are here 0. Now for 6, we have this 4 and this second bit value is 2. So plus 4. So these two bits are on and all the other bits are off. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this bit is on and this bit is on, then this bit is off, and these bits are 0. So what we get? 4 plus 2, we get 6. Now for this last network, 7 means 4 plus 2 6 plus 1 7. That means all these 3 bits are on and all these other bits are off. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this is on 4, this is also on 2, 6, and then 1, it becomes 7, and all these bits are off. So to do the summarization, what we have to do, we have to convert the networks into bits, and we have to calculate that how many common bits we have from left to right. Now I didn't convert this into bits because I know these are all same. These are all also same. Only we have changes on this third part, and then this one is also same. So I will calculate how many bits we have common in all these networks. So first 8 bits are common here. I will combine it. Then 8 bits are also common here. This 192 and 168 is common to all the networks. So 8, 8, 8, these 8 bits are common. Now here we will say that how many common bits we have. So we can see the changes are only on these first 3 bits, but these 5 bits are all same in every network here. So we can put a line here and we can see that these 5 bits are common on all these networks. So we can say 5 here. Now after this the changes are there. So after this the changes, it is changes. So this is zeros, but we will not count it because the change starts from here. So we can say after that everything is changed. So how many common bits we get? We get 8 plus 8 16, and plus 5 we get 21. So the common bits we get is 21. Now what that means? Now see, when this router send the network to the other router, so what it will do, it will summarize the network. It will summarize all these network into a single network. And how it will summarize? It will first take the lowest network from all these networks. Remember the lowest one. So if you see in all these networks, the lowest one is this one. This is the lowest one because it is 192, 168, 0. And then the other networks are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can say this one is the lowest one. So it will send this network 192.168.0.0. So when this router sends the information that I have these networks, so it will send this lowest network, and then it will send what? It will send not the default subnet mask, not the subnetted mask, it will send this summarized subnet mask as 21. So instead of the subnet mask, it will send this summarized subnet mask which we got after calculating this common bits, and it is what? 21. Now it will send /21, and if you convert it into subnet mask, so it will be like we can say it will be like what? 8 means 255, all bits are on. Then here is also 8, that means all bits are on, so it will be 255. Then here we have 5 bits on. that means 248. Remember 248 I am calculating from where? After calculating all those bits, that this bit value is 128 plus 64 plus 32 plus 16 plus 8. So you get what? 248, and then rest of the things are 0. So either it will send this /21 or this subnet mask. So this will be the summary address for the all networks here. That means all of these networks, this is the summary address. The network, first it will take the least network, the smallest network, and then it will send, with the network it will send the subnet mask, and it will send this /21, or we can say 255.255.248.0. and where it is getting this? It is getting it by calculating the common bits of all these networks, and that is 21. Now when this summarized network it sends to this router, so this router will know that on this router all these networks are connected. So instead of sending these 8 lines in routing table, it sends only one line. It only sends this summarized address. So this is called summarization. Now to do this summarization, remember you need to have a common networks. Remember all these networks are 192 to 168 class C common networks. If suppose I add some more networks into it, and which is a different network, then it will not be easy for me to do the summarization. If suppose one network here is 10.0.0.0, then other network is 20.0.0.0, then it will not be easy for me to do the summarization. So for doing the summarization, it must be in a series of network. Otherwise, it will not be easy to do the summarization. So remember, in OSPF, we do the summarization, and for doing that, we must need a same kind of networks. Otherwise, we are not able to calculate the common bits. You know what? In this 10 and 20, what are the common bits? We don't have much common bits in it. In this, if you calculate the common bits in this, so we have only this here, we have changes here directly. In one it is saying, in this we have all these changes directly start from here. The first part is change. So we don't have common parts, we just have the change on the first part. So first part says 10 means 0.00000 1 2 3 4 5 5 means 8. So it is actually on here. For 10, this bit will be on, and then this bit will be on, and this will become 10. That means 2 plus 8 is 10. And for 20, what you need? So you need 16, and 16 plus how much? 4. So what bit will be on for 20? 0.00 1 0 1 0 and 0. So how many common bits we are getting in these two? Only these 3 common bits. So it is not possible to do the summarization with these kind of networks. So you need to have a same series of network. Now why I am saying, because when you configure the areas, so we configure the areas because we can do the summarization. If you don't do the summarization, it is not a good idea to configure the areas. So how it works in areas, how this summarization works in areas. In OSPF, when we configure the area, so areas, like we configure first this area, and we have multiple routers here. Let's say this is area 0. Then we can configure other area also. Like for example, this area is on in one city, so in another city we can configure other area, area 1. Then on other city we can configure other area, area 2. We can configure on other city, we can configure area 3. we can configure area 4. And when we configure the OSPF, remember we configure with area ID. We mention the area ID. Now, these all areas will be remain still in the single autonomous system. They will remain in the single autonomous, single routing domain. We don't mention it, but they will still remain in the same single autonomous system, single routing domain. And to connect these two or multiple areas, we don't have to do any extra configurations. We just have to put one router here, and that router, one interface will be connected to this area and one interface will be connected to this area. And how we can do that? When we configure the router with this network on this interface, so we configure the network command, network, and the network of this interface, and then we configure the wildcard bit, and then we mention area and we say it is connected to area 4. And when we configure for this network, so we configure the network command with the IP address with the network of this interface, and then wildcard bit, and then we configure area and we say this is in area 0. So we don't have to configure any extra configurations to connect these two different areas. They can connect automatically. Just we have to configure these we have to configure one router to connect these two different areas. So the routers, one interface will be connected to one area, another interface will be connected to other area. And these routers which is connecting two different areas, these routers is actually called ASBR. It is called area border router, ABR, area border router. These routers they call area border routers. Now, if we are designing the OSPF with these different areas, then it is very important to make sure that we do the summarization, and that is why we are configuring the area. Otherwise, if we don't do the summarization, then we don't need to do the area. We don't have to configure the area. So what is the help of the summarization? And suppose we don't do the summarization, then what happens? Now suppose we have here in area 0, we have 100 networks here. That means we have 100 networks here. In this area 1, we have 200 networks here. And in this area, maybe we have 300 networks. We have 500 networks here in area 3. And here we have, suppose, 700 networks. 700 networks. Now suppose we don't have summarization and we still configure the area, but no problem, we can still configure, but it is not helping us to convert these areas. If we have not configured it multiple area, if we have configured it single area, then it will also work properly. Because why? Because suppose we have these number of network. Now any of the router, if suppose we have one router here on this area too, so when we run the command show IP route to see how many networks we have here on this router, and this router knows that how many networks you will see. You will see 300 networks of this area, then you will see all the networks of these other areas also in this routing table, in the routing table of this router, and total number of networks you will see 1000, 16, 17, 1800. You will see 1800 networks information on this single router. Not only on this area, in any area you go, in any area router you open and run the command show IP route, you will see 1800 information, 1800 networks in the routing table. And it is not a small routing table to manage for these routers. It is very difficult for this router to manage that 1800 networks routing table. And when it sends the information to the router here in the same area, remember in the same area when they are sending the information, so they will send the 1800 routing table to this these routers, exchange the routing table of 1800 networks, and that will be very difficult to manage. Now why it is that? Because I have not done the route summarization. I just configured the areas, but I have not done the summarization. But when I do the summarization, then the area will be effective and this will work properly. Now what we'll do here, if we do the summarization, so it actually, these 200 networks I will do summarize here, and the summarization will not be worked automatically, so we have to do it on the paper. And on this router which is connecting the two areas, we configure that summarize address here. So when this router sends the information from this side, so it will say I have only one summarize address, remember, only one. And in this side, when this router says, so what it will send only one of this all 300 networks. And this area, it will send this side, it will also say only one. And from this side also it will say I have only one. Now in this area 0, in any router when you open the area 0, so it knows about how many networks. So it knows about the 100 networks of its own area and 4 other networks, only 4 other summarized networks. So in the routing table of this area you will get the entry of only 104, not 1800. You will get the entry of only 104. Why? Because from all these other areas they are sending the summarized address. They are not sending the information, the whole 300 networks. They will send the information about only one network, one summarized network. And when this network area 0, then it will send the information to other areas. So it will send what? It will send that it will summarize its own network to 1, and then these other networks 1, 2, 3. So it will plus these 3 other areas network, and total it will become 4. So when this side it will send the information, it will send only 4. So any router when you open here in this area and you check the show IP route, so you will see 200 entries plus these 4 entries. Any router, like here when you open routing table, you will see the 300 its own network, and then 4 networks sent by the area 0, 4 summarized network. So when these routers will exchange the information to each other, so they don't send 1800 entries, they will send the 700 of their own, and also they may do the summarization within they cannot do the summarization within, so they 700, and then the 4 networks which is sent by the area 0. So it will reduce the load of that 1800 information, 1800 routing table information to keep in this every router of every area, and to exchange the information in every other area, every router in the area, within the area also. So this is how it is possible, because the route summarization we are doing, we are reducing the routing table. Now when we configure the OSPF, as I said, the design is very important. So first you have to make sure the design is properly, you have configured, you have properly designed on the paper that what you wanted to do, and how you are going to configure the network, how you are going to configure areas. And within the areas, remember, that is also important, that within the areas what are the networks you are going to use, because you can do only summarization when you have this kind of series wise network. If you have a different networks like 10, 20, 30, then it is not easy to do the summarization. So you have to first design it on your paper, and then you have to apply it on this in the network. So OSPF is actually need a lot of thoughts, lot of designing, and then you can implement the OSPF on your network. Then again, in OSPF areas, the area 0, this area 0, when we design the OSPF, so we design this area 0. This is the first area, we say we design it as a backbone area. Backbone area will also help you to communicate or reduce the routing table, so that and also reduce the connectivity to easy or simplifies the connectivity. So when we configure the area 0 as a backbone area, so what we do, we connect all these different areas directly to area 0, and we don't connect them to each other, like area 4, 5, 4 3 3 4 is not connected to each other. 3 2 is also not connected, 2 1 is also not connected to each other. So if these area 2 wants to go to area 1, so they can go through area 0, because area 0 knows about everything. Remember, when area 0 sends the routing information to area 2 here, so it sends only summarized address. It says that all these networks here I know, and I can forward you that side. So when this area 2 routers wants to go to area 1, so they will send the information to area 1. Then area 1 knows about all the areas, so area 1 will forward the data to that side. And that is why this area 0 is called the backbone area. So this is what the areas we have. Now these areas also is a different, just like the backbone area, we have other type of areas also. So these are the other types of areas we have in OSPF. First, standard area. Standard areas like ordinary or standard areas are areas that connects to backbone. So these are the areas which is connected to backbone, and in ordinary areas every router knows about every network in the area, and each router has the same topological database. However, the routing tables will be unique from the perspective of the router and its position within the area. So this is what the common area, this is the standard area. Standard areas are these areas which is connected to backbone area. Then we have stub area. Now this is an area that will not accept external summary routes, and this area prevents or blocks the link state advertisement type 4 and 5. Link state advertisement or advertisement type 4 and 5, it does not accept. That means it does not accept the request or area information from the other area, and this area has only default route to connect to router areas or external network, and every router within the area can see every network within the area and the networks within the other areas. And stub area is normally used in the hub and spoke topology. Now these stub areas are different areas. Like this, we have some area here, and it is connected to other areas, but it will not accept the information about other areas. That means by default it does not know about other areas. It does not know that what area and what networks we have on those areas. But if it wants to go to those areas, then what it uses the default route, default routing, where we configure the static, where we configure it statically, we say IP route, and we configure the network as a dot 0 dot 0 dot 0 dot 0 as a network, and for subnet mask also we configure 0 dot 0 dot 0. It is what the default route, and this means what, for any network go this side. It simply says any network go this side, and when it goes this side it reaches the other areas, but it don't know about the other areas, and it also not accept the information about other areas. But within the area they know each other. So whatever the network we have in this stub area, we see all the networks, all the routers knows about those areas, networks, but don't know any about the other areas. And when they want to reach the other area, they use the default routing for it. Then we have totally stubby area. Now this is totally stubby area, and is a special type of stub area which does not accept the link state advertisement type 3, 4 and 5 both, all these, and the area communicates with the other areas via default route, and the area is normally used for small branches or network areas or isolated areas with a few routers and routes. This one used in more smaller areas, like there is a small area we have, like very small branch area, and we just want to connect them together. So what we can do, we can configure it as a totally stubby area, and it also does not know about anything. It does not accept any information from the other area, and it wants to connect the other area, then it will also connect via the default route. It also does not support the message type 3 also. In stub area it does not support 4 and 5, but it only this one also not accept the message type 3. Now we have not so stubby area. Now this is also a special type of area which is connected to OSPF area and also external network via redistribution. And this area is type of stub area but accepts external routes, and this area does not accept the link state 4 and 5 statement advertisement. Now this is a special area to connect the OSPF area and also to external network. That means this area is like a stub area, but it accepts the information about the other networks, other area, and it is to connect the outside external, that means the external network which is not using OSPF, maybe it is using RIP here. So it is used to connect the other routing protocols. So that is what the stub area, not so stubby area. So these are the different areas we have in OSPF. Then finally we have the backbone area, and this is called as area 0, or if you give the area number as a IP address format, so you will give 0.0.0, and it connects to all the other areas, and this area accepts all types of LSA link state advertisement and help to connect each area, and this area can be called as a heart or center point of OSPF network topology. And this is what the backbone area which is connected to every other areas.